Welcome to the class. We are doing kinematics in continuation, and of course you are aware of we are talking about motion along a straight line. It means one dimensional motion, and here in this lecture we have to basically focus upon the calculus, and in physics we have to use differentiation and integration from your calculus. These are of course the branches of the calculus. Calculus is of course mathematics, so basically we are going to learn some mathematical tools, I should say, and those tools we have to use in our kinematics, and further also we will keep using in the other lessons of your physics. So you have to learn how to use this differentiation and integration, and what do we mean by differentiation and integration. And of course after having that knowledge we will be able to derive the kinematic equations of motion by the calculus method. So this is our objective for today's class. First of all, to begin with, what is differentiation? Differentiation is simply a process of finding a function rate of change of one variable with respect to the another variable. Like if I say that y is a function of x, then I can find the change in y with respect to x. If you know its use, you will be able to utilize this function, this process of differentiation. That is, of course, if you want to find the rate of change of distance with respect to time, instantaneous, at any instant, that is instantaneous speed. So it means wherever we have to find the slope, there we will be using this function, this process of differentiation. I can have variables, one as I have said independent variable which always I take on the x-axis, and another is dependent variable which I take on the y-axis. So if I say that y is a function of x, it means by changing the value of x, the value of y changes. Then when I take the derivative of y with respect to x, then it is simply written as dy by dx. Dy by dx is simply saying rate of change of y with respect to x. Because we have done with the graphs, and graphs are having a very important role in our physics. So let us understand the thing with the help of graph. As I am saying, x-axis I am taking the independent variable. So x is an independent variable. Supposingly y, here y can be any function. It can be your distance, it can be displacement, it can be speed, it can be velocity. On the x-axis we are always taking time, that is with reference to your kinematics. But here for understanding you can say that y is dependent upon x, so I am writing y is a function of x. Y is a function of x means y depends upon x. So when I have to find the derivative of y with respect to x, it means I am writing it as dy by dx, and this I speak it at like this, that dy by dx. I speak it dy by dx, and the meaning of this is I am finding the rate of change of y with respect to x, and by the definition, as I have said, it is equals to limit delta x tends to 0 delta y upon delta x. See, if I am moving with uniform motion, I am having the distance time graph, it is a straight line graph. I can take the slope from any point, it will come out to be same. Problem comes when I am not having the straight line graph, I am having some another shape. So it means whenever I have to find the change in y with respect to change in x, I take any 2 points on that graph. I draw the perpendiculars on the y-axis, I draw the perpendiculars on the x-axis. Perpendiculars on the y-axis are giving me delta y. Perpendiculars on x-axis are giving me delta x. So this is delta y, delta x. Now what happens when I am talking about derivative? This is limit delta x tends to 0. It means this value of delta x has to be very, very small, but not 0. Because I can't take it 0, 0 means I am talking about a straight line graph, means no use of slope is there. So whenever I am taking the slope, I have to take the very small difference of delta y to the very small because if I am changing delta x by the small amount, then delta y will also change by the small amount because y is dependent upon x. If I take any equation, I am just going to take the equation in the next slide. So by definition, if I say, then I am saying this is delta y upon delta x. It means I will be finding the slope of those any two points on the graph, and this delta x has to be very, very small, which is approaching 0. Tends to 0 means approaches 0, but it is not equal to 0, and thus it can give me the value, instantaneous value, like instantaneous speed, instantaneous velocity, instantaneous acceleration. Whenever I have to find, I will take the help of differentiation or derivative. Now this is by definition. It means if I take some value here I am taking where it is x naught plus x delta, means delta x, this is x naught. So this is x plus h and this is x. If I say, then difference in these two will give me the delta x. Similarly here also I am taking two values that will be giving me the delta y, but y is dependent upon x. So if I am saying that function x plus h, I am taking the value minus fx, I take the initial value, divided by that difference h, and that difference h is tending to 0, that is giving me the derivative of y with respect to x. See, calculus is very, very important branch of mathematics, which is helping me to solve very tedious things. But yes, of course, for your level you have to be at the beginner level. So we are not supposed to do all the mathematics, we have to simply learn the formulas. But still I have taken this as an example for you, that if y I am saying it is function of x, and y it can be written as 3x minus 2. This is the value of y. Y it is equals to 3x minus 2. It means y depends upon x. Now in place of x, if I take x plus h, because this is my definition, derivative which is written as dy by dx can be written as f dash x, then it is equals to limit h tends to 0 f x plus h minus fx divided by h. This is by definition. So if in place of x I take the value x plus h, then I can find the value of f x plus h, and then I am getting this as the result, 3x plus 3h minus 2. And if I am taking the limit h tends to 0, by definition I put the value of fx plus h and fx, which is equals to 3x minus 2. Then on solving, this 3x minus 2 will get cancelled and I am left with 3h. 3h upon h means h and h are going to get cancelled. So even if h is tending to 0, it is not going to make any difference for you people, I can say. So I am getting 3 is a constant, which is my result. So derivative of 3x minus 2, if I am taking with respect to x, then it is coming out to be 3, because for x it is 1 and for 2 constant it is equals to 0 if I go with the formula. So either I go with the definition or I go with the formula, my results are coming out to be same. So I will not be using this definition all the times to find the derivative, rather I will be using those formulas which have been like you do in trigonometry, like x plus a whole square you do, x plus a whole cube you do. Then every time you are not solving them, you are directly using them, like x minus a into x plus a. You are not solving it all the times, you are using it. Similarly, we can prove that all the formulas are correct, means they are giving the same result if I go by simple mathematics or I go by formula, then the things are coming out to be same. This thing you should keep in mind, that formulas has been made only for your convenience, and those formulas you have to use them directly and you need not prove that those formulas are correct. This is one thing which you have to keep it in your mind. Like I have given you formula that if y it is equals to x power n, then dy by dx it is written as n x power n minus 1. This is very important formula. and if this x power n is multiplied with some constant k and I want to find dy by dx, then this constant k can be taken out as it is, and I can use again for x power n same way n x power n minus 1. These are the formulas which you have to keep in mind, and using these formulas those results can be verified. It means bring that power in the front of x and then reduce the power by 1. So similarly, if I wish that y it is equals to x power 4, then dy by dx will be equals to 4 in multiplication x cube, and if I am having 2x ki power 4, then 2 will be taken as it is, and x ki power 4 means 4x cube, so 4x cube into 2 means 8x cube. So that constant has to be taken out as it is, and then you have to simply apply this formula for y equals to x power n. See, very important it is, when I am finding the derivative of y with respect to x, then y should be dependent upon x. If it means y should be function of x. If it is not a function of x, then I cannot find the derivative. This is the limitation with you, which you have to keep in mind. So this is one formula nx power n minus 1 for the derivative of x power n, which is very important, and only this one formula and the knowledge of constant if you are keeping in mind, then in kinematics derivative questions will not be any problem for you. Like we have discussed this with you, that derivative of a constant is 0. Derivative of x, if you are taking, it is coming out to be 1. If you are taking x power n, it is n x power n minus 1. See, whenever I am taking derivative of x power n, it means this x power n is nothing but y. So dy by dx, and y is dependent upon x, and that is why I am able to take the derivative of y with respect to x. Say in place of y, if I am having u or v other functions, but it should be dependent upon x, then only I can take derivative of u with respect to x, and I can take derivative of v with respect to x, but plus minus sign will come as it is. If I am having a constant which is multiplied with a variable, then constant has to be taken as it is out, and derivative of variable you can find simply by using this formula x power n. So this one formula, and you should know for constant it is 0, and if it is constant is in multiplication, is to be taken out, and then derivative is to be taken in the same method. This is about the first derivative. If I say, like if this is the graph with you, sin x, sine graph, here what is derivative? Derivative means slope. Slope means you have to draw the tangent. Here if you are drawing the tangent, the theta is more. Here if you draw the tangent at this point, theta will be less, and here at the maximum value if you draw the tangent, then there is theta is 0. So at this maximum value I am getting derivative 0, and here when I am getting theta maximum, here I am getting the maximum value. Similarly here if I make the slope, I will be getting theta equals to maximum value, but decrease on the negative side. So if I take derivative of sin x, it is coming out to be cos x. So derivative of sin x, it is equals to cos x. Similarly, derivative of cos x will be equals to minus of sin x. That we can always take the help of graphs to prove it, but proofs are not to be done. So you can keep these three formulas in your mind for the later use, not to be used in this chapter. In kinematics we will not be using these formulas, but there are a lot of formulas given in your book. You need not remember all those formulas. Only x power n formula and constant formula you should keep in mind for now. But this is just for adding to your knowledge, that if I am having here at the maximum value, derivative is always 0. Similarly at the minimum value, because slope is 0, it means derivative is 0. And whether it is maxima or it is minima, for that we take the help of second derivative, d2y by dt square or d2y by dx square. If here we are taking y is dependent upon t, time, then first derivative is dy by dt, second derivative is d2y by dt square. If it is negative, then means maxima, because here the slope is firstly more, then 0, then it decreases. So d2y by dt square becomes negative, and here d2y by dt square becomes positive, that is minimum. So this is the utility of the derivative, to find the maxima and minima by simply finding the first derivative and the second derivative. This inflection point you can use in mathematics. In physics we are not going to use this point, where double derivative is also 0. So one time if I am taking the derivative, that is termed as first derivative. If I am taking second time derivative, that is written as d2y by dt square. It is spoken like this, and this is your second derivative, this is first derivative. This much you should know with you. Now if I want to talk about integration, integration is the reverse process of differentiation of kids. It is 1 upon d. Like derivative I take wherever I have to find the slope, but integrate means adding, summation. Integration means addition. So wherever, like for velocity time graph, area is giving me the distance or the displacement, that is by adding the small areas I can get. So there only I will be using the integration with you. Like I am saying that if dy by dx I am writing it as f dash x, then integration, this is the symbol for integration, that is simply an extended s like symbol. This is integral symbol, integration or integral we may call it. Then if I am taking the integral here for fx, then dx should be always there. Whenever I use the integral sign, then change in the small independent variable should be there, dx should be there, then that is coming out to be equals to y. Here you see, if I am putting the integral sign, then dx I am taking here in multiplication, here also I will be using the integral sign, both the same work I will do. If I am using the integral sign here, I have to use the integral sign here also. But integral is what? 1 upon d, 1 upon derivative. So 1 upon d into d will simply go. That you need not write, but you have to understand that if I am having f dash x, it is equals to dy by dx, then integral of f dash x dx, it is equals to y. That means it is simply the reverse process of differentiation, but I have to use it while adding up the things, while summation. It is 1 upon d. If I am saying that d by dx of x power n is nx ki power n minus 1, this is, we have just understood this one formula. Now if I want to write derivative of x power n plus 1, then it will be power n plus 1 as it is, x power n plus 1 minus 1 means I am left with n. Now if I do integrate both the sides, then I am getting this, but wherever I am using the integration, either simply d and integral, they will cancel out, and this dx will come here. So I can write it like this, that integral of integral and d, they will go with each other, x power n plus 1, it is equals to integral of n plus 1 x power n dx. Or here I can say integral or summation of x power n dx, it is equals to x power n plus 1 divided by n plus 1. So the formula with you people is simply one formula you have to keep in mind, that if I have to take integration of x power n dx, it is equals to x power n plus 1 divided by the same power. It means increase the power by 1 and divide by the same power. Like you do, once you do logarithms, then you do anti-logarithms. Same way, if I am doing differentiation, integration is the inverse process, inverse of differentiation I can say, 1 upon d. So if I want to take integral of x power 5 dx, this is simply x power 5 plus 1 means 6, x power 6 divided by 6. Plus a constant c is written, that is constant of integration, which can be calculated experimentally. In physics most of the times we will be ignoring it, because this will be coming out equals to 0. Like if I am taking derivative of x square, that is 2x, But if I want to take integral of 2x, 2 is a constant, will be taken out. So x power 1 plus 1, x square by 2, so that will cancel. So this is just for an example. If I am taking derivative of x square, it is 2x. If I take integral of 2x, that is coming out to be x square. So this is just to understand that both are related with each other. So you have to simply increase the power by 1 and divide by that number which is coming by adding 1. To be more clear about the things, derivative I have to take wherever I have to find the slope, while for integration, for a given range, if I am doing indefinitely, then no limits are to be there. That is indefinite integral. Integral can be indefinite, and if I put the limits, like I want to change the time from 1 to 2 seconds, that becomes definite integrals. And whenever I want to take definite integrals, then I will be solving it by taking upper limit minus lower limit after solving the integration part. These are the formulas just for reference. If you want to go with, no need to remember all these formulas. Simply keep it at times whenever required. You can use, you can see the values. So indefinite integral is simply this integral of f dx. But definite integrals means we are having limits, like I am finding integral of 2x dx. That I have worked out, 2 can be taken out, and for x it is x square by 2, and 2 and 2 will get cancelled, so I am left with x square answer with me. Now if I am working within the values of x changing from 1 to 2, then upper limit minus lower limit. So upper limit is 2. So 2 square minus 1 square, that is, then only I will be getting the answer. This you have to remember, upper limit minus lower limit for definite integrals. It means when limits are given to you. In kinematics, whenever you have to use, like we will be always taking distance or displacement or position as a function of time, then I can find the velocity as dx by dt, that is instantaneous speed or instantaneous velocity. From the graph, if I want to find, that is slope of xt graph. Similarly, if I want to find the acceleration, then velocity is dependent upon time. It means velocity is a function of time. Then I can find acceleration as dv by dt, which is of course the slope of vt graph. But I can write acceleration which is equals to dv by dt. If I put the value of v here, which is dx by dt, then I can write a equals to double derivative of x, which is d2x divided by dt square. This is about differentiation. Now if I want to take integration, then area under the velocity time graph is giving me the displacement, which can be written as integration of v dt. So whenever integral sign is there, that small change in the variable, independent variable, should be there, because velocity depends upon time. So whatever is variable in definite integral, limits will be for the time only, because variable is time. Similarly, if I want to find velocity from the area acceleration time graph, then for acceleration time graph, that is area under at graph will give you velocity, that can be written as integral of a dt. So this is, it means for finding slope we are using the differentiation, for adding up the areas we are using the integration. We want to work up with the kinematic equations of motion for uniformly accelerated motion by using the calculus method, of course. So first equation, like we have done, acceleration is what? That is dv by dt. So from here you can write dv, it is equals to a dt. A is constant, time velocity is dependent upon time. So now if I integrate, I am supposing that when time is 0, velocity is v naught, when time is t, velocity is v. So I am doing with definite integrals, it means. So integration of dv, because here variable is velocity, so limits will be of the velocity. Here variable is time, so limits will be for time. So for time it is 0 to t, and when time is changing from 0 to t, velocity is changing from v0 to v. Now integral of dv, d and integral sign will cancel, so it is simply v, and when you put upper limit minus lower limit, it means v minus v0. Here when I take a is a constant acceleration will be taken out, integral of dt, d and integral will cancel, so integral of dt is simply t, and t, upper limit t minus 0 means t. So you are getting v, it is equals to v0 plus at, which is by the definition also you have done, and by the graphical method also you have done. This is we have done now by calculus method. You should know all the three methods. If I want to derive the second equation, I will be using the definition of the instantaneous velocity, which is dx by dt, and then if I write dx, it can be written as v dt, but v from the first equation we have done, v it is equals to v0 plus at. So if I put the value, now if I want to take the integration, here the variable is distance or the displacement, and here the variable is time. So I have to suppose the limits for distance and displacement and time also. At t equals to 0, we are supposing that x equals to x0, and of course velocity is v0, but velocity is not to be used here, and time t equals to t, velocity is v, but the position is x equals to x only. So here when I am taking the integral of dx, the limits are x0 to x, position are changing from x0 to x when the time is changing from 0 to t. Now this v0 dt, I have to find the integration, and I have to find the integration of at dt. So for this, if you find integral of dx is simply x, and x limits, upper limit minus lower limit, it is x minus x0. For v0, v0 is a constant value, initial velocity is having some value which is can be any number, it is a constant, will be taken out, and integral of dt is t, and upper limit is t minus 0, upper limit minus lower limit, so this is equals to t only, v0 multiplied by t. And for this part, a is to be taken out, and integral of t, t power 1 like x power n, so x power n plus 1 divided by the same number, so t square divided by 2, so this will be equals to half at square. This is the second equation of motion, and of course with the same thing, if I change the limit from n minus 1 to n for the time, then I will be getting the distance travelled in nth second, which was the fourth equation with you, that I have left for you people to work out as an exercise, and in case if you find some problem, of course we can discuss in the next class. Third equation of motion, whenever you want to do that, again we are using this a, it is equals to dv by dt. But in the third equation, if you remember, the equation was v square minus u square equals to 2ax. So velocity is and a distance is there, but time is not there, time factor is not there. So what we are doing is we are multiplying and dividing by dx, that is a small change in the value of x. Then this dx by dt is velocity, and I can write this expression for a equals to dv by dx into v. So I can write it as a dx, it is equals to v dv, it means v dv it is equals to a dx. Now here the variable is velocity, here the variable is position or the distance. So when I have to take the limits, here for distance, here for velocity, so my suppositions are again the same. At time t equals to 0, velocity is v0, x equals to x0, and at t equals to t, velocity is v and x equals to x. But time limits not to be taken here, because time variable is not there, variable is only there for position. So this is, you have to find v dv, it means x dx. So x power 1, it means v power 1, so it will be v square by 2. Here a will be taken common, and integral of dx will be simply x. So you have to put the limit, upper limit minus lower limit, upper limit is x minus x naught, and here the limit is upper limit is v, so v square minus v naught square, because the integral of v dv is v square by 2. So 1 by 2 I have written outside, and inside, while putting the values of the upper limit and lower limit, I am taking v square minus v naught square. So you are getting v square minus v naught square, it is equals to 2ax minus x naught, and this is the result with you for the third equation of motion. But if I want to take this equation of motion for a freely falling body, because freely falling body is also having one dimensional motion along the y-axis, then these equations can be transformed by keeping a equals to g. So v will be equals to v naught plus gt, x equals to x naught plus v naught t plus half gt square. In place of a only we are writing g, small g, that is the acceleration due to gravity. Similarly, third equation, that can be written as v square minus v naught square, it is equals to 2g x minus x naught. If for the freely falling body I am taking on the negative axis, I am taking a equals to minus 9.8 meter per second square, then the at, vt and xt graphs can be drawn like this. This is constant, this is again uniform acceleration. So because these equations are applicable for uniformly accelerated motion, so these are very much applicable for the freely falling body. Of course, we can work out various numericals with you. For today, you keep things up to this. Thank you.